And here we are, folks. Hello, welcome to James Lott Jr. is the DJ. No, that's not true. James Lott Jr. is the farmer. James Jr. was a DJ, but James Lott Jr. is the farmer. And Jack Farmer.
And here we are, folks.
It's
Hello,
a DJ.
welcome
And why am I talking?
James Lott Jr.
Shut up, James. Here we go, kids. We're here. We're professionals.
You got to love live TV, huh?
Yeah, we're here on International Women's Day.
Yes.
To all the women out there. Shout to all of them, right, Jack? To all the women's.
Every single one of them.
Yes, every single one. Every single one. Today is my granddaughter's 16th birthday. To Scarlett, I love you. Which I said to her.
Oh.
That's her birthday. I'm not
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm not with her today, but we did FaceTime earlier. So we did that. Somebody, welcome. Get the chat up because I know folks I got to do a certain thing. Somebody, we already got a like already. Well, okay.
That was me. You're welcome.
Thanks, Jack, for liking us.
I do my part.
We are here. We talk on Mondays. We talk about different types of songs, genres. This one's a very interesting case, as there's something happening over here. And we are doing songs that wrestlers usually use for intro music.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wearing my shirt here. So here on JLJ Media, follow, subscribe, like, comment, all that usual stuff. Okay, so Jack gave me a list of just great songs to go through and some not so great songs to go through. Right. I had a very interesting time going through them, Jack. Some I knew already, some I knew, and some I was pleasantly surprised. So we're going to go through some of these. I'm going to ask them some questions. And if you're a wrestling fan, please join in. If you're here now or come on later, make the comments, tell what you think. I want to ask you, Jack, what, in your opinion, makes a good wrestling entrance song?
So that's a great question. I think it's a couple things. I think one, it has to be something that stands out and makes them something that is significantly like individualized to that person. So when you hear it, you immediately go, that is who that person's song is. You know who it is right away. And something that kind of creates a mood that matches who they are. For instance, if you had a entrance song, death metal wouldn't work because that's not your vibe. That's not who you are. At least that's not your personality. So it's got to be something that matches the personality, that is instantly identifiable, but also is kind of exciting, kind of fun, kind of gets you amped to see the person as well. It's a combination of those three things, I think.
So it really does depend on what we got to take into consideration, your personality as a wrestler, right? The look you have too, and does that count? Your look, so the whole thing about the personality look.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's all about congruency. I think, and it comes to that kind of stuff. Again, using the death metal example, if you're walking out to death metal, but you're coming out, but you're wearing a bunch of bright, silly colors, then it doesn't feel right. You're wondering why this person's walking out to this, or vice versa. If you're coming out to something fun and happy and kind of a cool little groove, but then you're wearing all black and dressed like a vampire, it's going to seem weird and it's not going to make sense. So it definitely has to match who you are, how you dress. It's all congruency. Like I said, does everything go together? Does this, especially in wrestling where you're trying to create personas, that's how us viewers can see that something's not clicking, is when something doesn't match. And that's where something like a song has to match how you look.
I've noticed in some of them, they say fourth song, third song. So they change intros over the years or different abouts, or how does that work?
Yeah, they do. Over the years, sometimes they'll just get minor upgrades or minor tweaks or remixes. One of the songs, for instance, just changed singers, and I don't know which ones we'll go through, so I'll leave it as a surprise. But one of them, they had someone who sang the words, and then they just changed who sang the words. Sometimes if a person has a character change, they'll change the song as well. So, if you're James Lott Jr., everyone loves you. You're the kind of person that everyone wants to cheer for. You have your music. And then one day you stab me in the back, James, and you become a horrible villain, then you might get a new song to reflect that change in personality.
Makes sense. Totally makes sense. Yeah. So there's some songs I was like, oh my God. And there's some songs I pleasantly surprised I liked. I also noticed there were songs that were done by the artist who's also the wrestler.
Yes.
You're those.
Yes.
I'll name some of those. And there was one that was done by somebody I forgot was a wrestler. but I know him
Yeah.
from other stuff. So that's what that too. I want to start off with a guy I had a big crush on actually back in the day.
I am so interested to know which one this one is.
CM Punk.
Interesting. Yeah.
Huge crush on him, and I remember him from other stuff. I mean, I remember him outside of it. I almost forgot he was in this wrestling world. Before I mention the song, so can you tell me a little bit more about his wrestling character?
Yeah. So CM Punk, he is he's one of those guys who I think you would just call a some people aren't necessarily a character, they're more just themselves turned up to 10, as they say. So I think he's someone who at least presents himself like this is just who he is, but he's kind of a bigger version of himself. Now, I don't know how much of him is playing the character and whatnot, but he wasn't one of those guys like an Undertaker that came out and pretended to be an undead person or something like that. But he was always sort of an anti-authority kind of person, always kind of his own guy. He did have a bit of a time where, in real life, he's what's called straight edge, meaning no drinking, no drugs, none of that kind of stuff. And he did have a run for a while that was kind of fun where he played off of that of being straight edge, but then of course being like better than you because of it as a villain is an interesting way to turn like a positive health thing into being a bad guy because he was a jerk about it. Kind of like the vegans that always lord it over you that you're eating meat or drinking milk or whatever like that. And so he's always been known as one of the guys who's just been incredible on a microphone and very entertaining in the ring. Really, I think for wrestling fans, one of the guys that wrestling fans really, really liked. Also someone who retired very early in his career. So we are all left wanting a little bit more with him.
Okay. Well, the song he chose, which made me like him even more, was by Living Color.
Yes.
Cult of Personality, a song that I know. A little fact for me, in 1989, I saw Living Color open for the Rolling Stones.
Oh, that'd be a good show.
It was a great show, and it's Concord up in Northern California. The thing about folks, you know who Living Color is. They were black. They were a black rock group. Which to this day, there are very few that are successful. Living Color is having success. That was one of the biggest songs. And videos played on MTV. And that's really just why I knew who they were. There's a group called King's X, and they both were black. And just weren't getting enough play. And they were starting to get some play. And I remember when I heard they're going to be on the bill, I saw Rolling Stones 4 or 5 times over the years. But I made sure I was going to go to that show to see them open. And they were amazing. And the thing was, they were just rockers that happened to be black. I mean, that was kind of the weird. It was like they were just rockers. And a lot of us black rock fans, they didn't know who they were. They were like, who are these? I love them. Who are they? I'm like, they're great. They're just a rock band. And so, when I heard, I was like, CM Punk, I see you.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's not more rock bands. I don't know why, but it's kind of, I guess, one of those things that just, it is the way it is. But that's actually the reason why I put CM Punk in there. I had a feeling you'd appreciate the Living Color band there. But that's a good example of sort of what we've talked about, where his name is Punk, so it's a rock band, but it's also one of those songs that first guitar riff, you know exactly what it is. And so if you know that's his entrance music, you know within a second who's coming out. It feels strong. It kind of represents who he is. And if you're deep diving into it, the Cult of Personality, being a good microphone guy and that kind of thing, it kind of all rolls into one. So I thought it was a really clever song by him to use. A lot of wrestlers just don't get the rights to songs, but he's one of those guys that kind of marches to the beat of his own drum. And if he wants a song, he's going to get it. And he got it. And that's why I put it in there, because I had a feeling you'd appreciate the Living Color.
I do. Very much. Very much so. Demo says it does fit him. Yes, theme song. I loved it. Now, a person, I'm going to go from that to a person I also forgot was in wrestling, was Chris Jericho.
Yes. I
know him as a personality of doing different things out there. And I always liked his personality. As outside, I don't know what he's like in the ring, but I know outside I liked him. And I was like, oh yeah, that's what he was in wrestling. What was he like as a wrestler?
So he's known primarily as being a guy that has reinvented himself a million times. And that's why he's been around for 30 years wrestling, because he's one of those guys that's very smart about he'll kind of have a character. And then after 3 or 4 years, realize this is getting stale. People have seen me for a long time doing this. I need to do something different. And he'll kind of reinvent himself and do something new. And with this song, the reason I put it in there, this is actually a newer song for him, but this is obviously his own song, his own band, and he sings it.
Judas by Fozzy by Judas, his band.
Or Judas is the song, Fozzy is the band. And Fozzy is his band, so he sings his own music. He only started using this really in the past few years, this song. But one of the reasons his character now is kind of like a rock star character. I think he's one of those guys too that's been around long enough that just being who he is kind of good enough. And he's like a rock star. That's kind of who he is. And what I put this in for is not only is it his own song, which I think is kind of cool, from his own band, which is kind of cool, but this is a song that now when they play it and he comes out, even when they cut the song off and they get ready for the match, the audience, at least when there is an audience, will actually continue to sing the words even with the music off. And it's a cool thing where there's no music, but you hear the crowd singing along to a song that's not playing anymore. And it's a really, really cool way to start matches and start shows. And at least to me, it seems it happened completely organically, which people just started doing it. And now it's just a part of his entrance.
I like the song. I like the song a lot. Yeah. I do. Adam Woods is in the building. Hello, Mr. Adam Woods.
Adam Woods, hey.
Says, Killswitch, we love him. Killswitch Engage had Howard Jones, and Seven Dust has LaJean Witherspoon as the respective lead singers. You know that?
Yeah.
So that's
Adam Woods is a very good reference here for music and for wrestling. By the way, he knows his wrestling and he knows his music.
I should have had him on. I love Adam Woods. I know Adam. Yeah. I love Adam. We've done shows together.
Yeah.
And Jericho has had 100 lives in wrestling, which is cool. So yes, I like the song, I like the video, like the song. It worked for me. Now on another type of music, there's a song that I think is cute. I have a hard time picturing it as an entrance song for this person. So somebody named Lana, you sent me a song called Ravishing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I like Barnes. I like it. I think it's really cute. But I have a hard time picturing it as an entrance song.
Yeah, so she is, she's not the most successful win-loss record wrestler in the world. But honestly, the reason I put it in there is because it's a groove. I just like it.
Great song.
It's just a fun little groove that she has. And you're right. It's not the most intimidating song you're going to hear. It doesn't strike fear into the hearts of people. But every time she comes out, I find myself kind of grooving in the, in the couch while I'm watching, like, it's a fun little ditty. I really like it. And I wanted to send you some songs that were different than just, guitar riffs and drums and heavy beats. And that one is very different. It's very fun. It's really enjoyable. Anyone listening, if you don't listen to wrestling themes very often, this one's very different. It's a fun little groove. Check out Lana Ravishing theme song.
I agree. I did like him. And on another note, with Sasha Banks, who I know who that is, of course.
Mm-hmm.
She was on my Mandalorian, so I do know who she is from that.
Yes.
Her song with Snoop Dogg. I'm a big Snoop fan, so called "Sky's the Limit." I like the song. I'm trying to figure. I guess I can see it as an entrance song for her. I don't know her persona, and I know her persona in the Mandalorian, but I know her persona. No, but I like the song's cute. Snoop Dogg always elevates the song. I don't know, what is she like as a wrestler? Is that a good representation of her?
Yeah, so that's another reason I put her in there, because I knew you're a Mandalorian fan, so I knew you'd like to see that she was represented in here. But she's also related to Snoop Dogg, so that's kind of how that connection happened. Yeah, wrestling fans are getting mad at me because I don't remember. I think she's like their cousins, or she's his niece. Adam probably knows offhand.
Yeah,
but
let's know.
But yeah, they're related. And so her character, she calls herself the boss. And so she's just kind of a bossy, not bossy, but, very flashy kind of person. And
that bitch, that's what she is.
See, you'll say it. Okay. So that's basically what she is. Yeah. She's the baddest boss in the building kind of person.
The song says that. That's what I like.
Yeah. So I think it fits her. I mean, of course, she's had it forever. So it sounds, she's definitely someone who's had a ton of remixes and remakes of her songs, though. So over the years, they change it and tweak it just a little bit. But yeah, I think it represents her really well. And she's another person who I think wrestling fans, a lot of fans really, really like her. Even when she's trying to be someone who's supposed to be hated, people like her. So,
oh, she's trying. She's trying.
I wish I could be liked even if I tried to be hated. That'd be a nice thing to have in my life. Gosh.
You still aspire to that, Jack Farmer. One day. Wait, one day. Not now, but maybe one day. You know? There's a song by this next person where he samples a line. Well, no, he doesn't sample it. He says the line from my favorite poets of all time. You know how I feel about it? But I was like, okay. His name is Ricky Starks.
Mm-hmm.
It's a song's called "It's Live" or something, or
yeah. So I can't remember what the name of the song is, but
he says the revolution will be televised, which is a very Gil Scott-Heron was my idol, and that's a very strong thing he says in one of his songs. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about that part, but the song was decent. Or the song was decent. So he got that from somebody, and I see where he's trying to go with it.
Yeah, a special shout out to this one because it was actually made by a guy named Mikey Ruckus, who I had the chance to interview, and he's a really cool guy, and he does a lot of songs for a company called AEW. I wanted AEW to be represented a little bit. It's like the secondary company in wrestling in the country. But I like this one because that's kind of like almost like an Uptown Funk vibe to it, a very like funky jam to it, and I just love his theme. I think it's upbeat. It's fun. It feels like something a superstar would walk out to, someone who's like a big deal. I like Ricky Starks as a wrestler. He's kind of that kind of guy too, where he's kind of got that Hollywood vibe to him. And I think this fits it. And like I said, it's almost like I could see if you had like a singer on it, you could almost have it be a good dance track or a good song you hear on the radio, as opposed to just being a wrestling theme.
I can see that. I can totally see that.
You know, if you got like the right artist kind of singing over something, it's a little repetitive, like a lot of entrance themes are, as opposed to being like intro, chorus, verse, chorus, bridge kind of thing, where it's really kind of more just like beat, repeat, repeat, repeat. But
well, is it an entrance song? How long should it be really? I mean, like, how long is the entrance? I mean, they come out.
It always depends, but I mean, you really only need like 2 minutes for a good entrance song, unless you're someone who's going to try to milk it and take all day. Some wrestlers will take all day. I think it's just because they don't want to wrestle for as long as time. I think they're like, hey, you've got 10 minutes. And they're like, great, I'm going to take 5 walking out to the ring. And then I only have to work for 5 more.
That's funny. That's funny.
But really, it's like 2 minutes, because even then, most of them, the way they're built and the way they're structured, I think they do it on purpose. Like this one, if he is taking a long time, it's very easy to just loop and start over again. I think they do that for TV production reasons. It's just, because you never know. That way, if things go long, you can just loop it instead of, if it's all like a regular song. Then when you loop it, everyone's going to go, oh, they started it over. Something must be wrong, or the timing's off or something.
Yeah. I can see that. The next song, I know this person. I don't know him personally, but I know this person is Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
And I know his persona. So I just want to, when the first wrestler I go, I know his persona actually. This song, it sounds very American. It sounds like Go Team America. It fits his persona. It fits his look. Song's called Metal. I wrote, it sounds very all-American sounding, fits his image.
Yes. This is a perfect example of a song that's like built for this person. If this song had nothing to do with wrestling, nothing to do with the person, and you heard it, you would say this sounds like an Olympian battle song, someone who is all-American. Like you said, you can almost imagine the stars and the stripes flying through the air, and it's a great workout song, by the way. If you're like working out and that song comes on, you get that sort of, that pump. Yeah, dun 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 dun. I can't beatbox it, but it matches him perfectly. They absolutely nailed his persona, who he is, an Olympic gold medalist, red, white, and blue. all day. It was, yeah, I think they nailed it. And that's why I put it there, because this is just the perfect embodiment of who he is.
The song made me want to have apple pie and a hot dog. I mean, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
so American. I felt like, wow, okay, I want to, like, play baseball and I don't know, be in middle America. That's how it felt. It was so American.
What's fun too is something that happened is he's like everyone else. He's gone from good guy to bad guy over the years, and it has a dun 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 dun. And what the crowd would do is when he came out, the crowd would always chant when he was a bad guy, "You suck." So like, "You suck, you suck." And what's happened over the years is as he's become good and bad, now even when he's a good, like, beloved, people will still say it, but he'll embrace it. Like, it's just a fun, like, I get it. It's like a fun thing to kind of go with his entrance. And so it's something that I think is kind of fun. It's fun that even though it's a negative term, it's now endearing because it's just what you do with the song.
He's been around for a long time too, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been around for probably 15, 17 years, something like that. No, maybe 20 years. I'm sorry. Yeah, probably 2000, I would say.
Yeah, I think he's been around for a while. The next person is on my shirt here, right here.
Mm-hmm.
Mr.
Such a good shirt.
Hogan. Hulk Hogan, folks. We love him. That's my time period.
Yes.
Real American. I mean, that song was all, I was like, that's my song. I mean, it's all late 80s. It's like, I like a slow intro build. I mean, I'm just like, I'm a sucker for the late 80s rock. I'm a sucker. I'm a total sucker. I saw this then. I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for all that.
This is why you're a good host. You went from the American Kurt Angle vibe to the Real American Hulk Hogan theme. I had to add this one. This is like quintessential wrestling theme music here. And it is so funny that it's such an 80s vibe, because back in the 80s, being American meant you were beloved. Just saying I'm American, people would go, oh yeah, you're beloved because you're American. That's all it takes. Sure, all of us here in the arena are American, but you're American, so we like you. Because back then in those days, if you were non-American, you were immediately someone to hate for some reason. That seems like
I can tell you, I'll tell you why. Because communism was big in the 80s. We had the Cold War. We were taught we could be blown up in 8 minutes. We used to have drills. We had to hide under the tables and where to go for the bomb shelter. It was kind of a scary time for us. It was communism was huge. And before the fall of some communism towards the late 80s, it was a big deal that if you were American, you were good. If you were Russians or Soviet Union, you were this, you were bad. And all movies did that. Everything said that. We were taught that growing up. So I remember that. That's why. So I totally get why. I mean, I get it.
Well, especially, yeah, and it makes sense because going back, his big rivals during those times was Russians, and like the Iron Sheik was another one of his big rivals. And so
that time period, I remember that time period.
Yeah, it's such a funny. It's so iconic, but it is such a funny, like. Yeah, I try to imagine them doing that today. Well, I guess there is still some of that today, where someone says they're just from a country and you're supposed to make your judgment about them based on the country they're from, which seems like a bad precedent to send, but I guess it's just built into.
Yeah, like
it's just built into it, I guess.
Adam Wood says, "I want to be like James Lott Jr. and Jack Farmer when I grow up." Adam. Adam. He says, Sensuke Nakamura's NJPW and first theme WWE are my workouts are bangers.
Yeah. Shinsuke Nakamura. Yeah. NJPW is New Japan Pro Wrestling. That was it's like the WWE of Japan, basically. So here.
Okay, so here we go. Before we go any further, this is what I need you to do. I need you to break down for me what is what. I know there's NXT and Raw over here and WWE, and I don't know what any of this shit means. So break it down for me. What's going on?
Yeah, so the WWE here in the United States, the WWE is the big one. It's the Coca-Cola, it's the McDonald's, it's the thing, and it owns everything that is under the WWE Raw. There's WWE SmackDown. There's WWE NXT. There's WWE NXT UK. They're now making NXT India, and NXT is kind of the brand that's sort of like their farm system, I guess you could say. And that's where they'll have like NXT UK in Europe, and that's where they find wrestlers in Europe. And then when they make it there, they send them over to NXT US. And then once they've made it in NXT US, they go to Raw and SmackDown and that kind of thing. Then there's AEW, which is a separate company. And that's, like I said, this is kind of the secondary company. If WWE is the Coke, AEW is the Pepsi, the alternative brand, I guess you could say. New Japan Pro Wrestling is the same thing as WWE. It's just it's Japanese. So it's over, if you're in Japan, which wrestling's really big in Japan. So that's what's over there. And then there's also like Mexican companies and things like that are all really big. WWE is the biggest. Stuff. What was that?
Lucha Libre stuff.
Yes, absolutely. And so it's WWE is like the biggest in the world, but New Japan is probably up there as like the second biggest in the world. But that's where a lot of Japanese wrestlers go and come from.
What does NEW stand for?
NEW?
Yeah, is that
you mean NXT or?
No, you're saying there's WWE. It's the secondary company.
AEW is it's all elite wrestling. So it was started by a group of wrestlers who were part of a group called the Elite, and so they made a company called All Elite Wrestling. It's a long story. It's kind of a fun, interesting side story, but about a bunch of guys who the WWE didn't think were going to be a big deal, so they bet on themselves, and it paid off. And now they have a big company. They made it themselves. So it's kind of a cool story, which we probably don't have time to get into here today. But they basically the big guys said, "We don't believe in you," and they said, "Fine, we'll bet on ourselves," and it paid off.
And you cover a little bit of everything, don't you? At this point, between you and Flobo shows, you kind of cover everything.
Yes. Right? Yeah. So I do a show on AEW. He does a show on NXT. And I mean, we're both on each other's shows, but those are the two that we really do. We talk a little bit about Raw and SmackDown and the other WWE stuff. That's just a very saturated market, so it's not as fun to really talk about.
Okay. Sorry, folks. I don't know what's going on. I said NEW. I don't know new. I don't know what's going on. It's all NEW to me. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm just thinking. I'm putting some letters together. But now I'm getting an idea. Now I'm having a better idea what's going on.
Yeah.
I have a better idea. And thank you, Adam Woods. Yes, me and Jack Farmer are the two hardest working guys in show business.
Make sure Flobo knows that.
Oh, Flobo knows already. All right, Tony. He knows I'm the hardest working in show business. Don't worry about Flobo boys. Don't worry about him. I'm not afraid of him.
Flobo 100% works harder than I do. I'll give him that.
So. Okay, so I got an idea what's okay. I got an idea what's going on. Okay, there's a song I didn't like.
There's probably a few of them.
This one was so boring. I'm like, okay. So I remember a little piece of the '90s. I was into Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Mm-hmm.
The song you told me, Hell Frozen Over. It was so boring to me.
The Stone Cold one.
Boring rock song. Yeah, I didn't like it.
Yep, it's a song that was huge in the 90s, but yeah, it's because I think back then the budgets weren't quite as there for the music. It was a little bit simpler. They had a guy, Jim Johnson, that made all the music for all the wrestlers in WWE at the time. And so a lot of the wrestlers back then just had guitar riffs, which is basically what his is. The iconic part is the shattering glass to start it. And that's going back to that thing. You instantly go, oh my gosh, that's what's happening. And that was really the biggest part of the song, especially someone like Stone Cold, because you would have the bad guy in the ring or Vince McMahon in the ring saying like, no one can tell me what to do. And then you hear the glass break and everyone goes, oh, the rest of it is just background noise at that point. It's really just the glass breaking that makes that song. But you're right. That's another example of a song that kind of just loops. It's just dun, 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 dun. And it just kind of repeats that over and over and over and over again. But the glass breaking is what really sells that song. And it was one of the biggest songs in pro wrestling for a while because Stone Cold was the biggest guy in pro wrestling for a while.
Huge. On 316, I remember. I remember all that. I do. But another song I didn't care. I didn't care for too much. And I know folks are going to hate me, of course. I just don't care. The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally just his sayings looped into some music, and I was like, oh, okay, it did nothing for me.
Yeah, that's another one. I'll be honest, I was never a huge fan of The Rock's entrance music. But again, it's The Rock, so I have to put him in there. I mean, come on. But he's another one of those guys that was such a character, such a personality that as he was coming out there, that's what you were paying to see. That's what you wanted to see. He had so much charisma that as he's walking down, you're not paying attention to the fact that it's just like dun 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 dun, just kind of repeating.
I thought it was graduation music. I was like, are we graduating? Like, what's going on? Like,
you know, Macho Man did walk out to the
did he really?
The Pomp and Circumstance.
I'll take that. Actually, I would take that. I'd appreciate that actually.
Yeah, he was the first one to walk out to it. Yeah, and that was actually the first song, not Macho Man, but the guy who used it was the first one to use music to walk out to. That was the first song. That Pomp and Circumstance. Yeah.
That was not The Rock. I was like, that's kind of boring. The one that made me laugh was Shawn Michael. I knew that person too. I knew him too, of course. Yeah, and I love that. Here's the lyric that made me just laugh the whole time. Very 80s, late 80s, loved it. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm just a sexy boy. I was like, that's my new song, everybody. That'll be my new entrance song to everywhere I walk into. When I see my grandkids, I'm just a sexy boy. I like the song. I like it.
That's the song that was originally a girl was singing it. And then they had him do it instead. They took her off, had him record it. And I love just the guts to sing your own song about being sexy. Yeah. Every wrestling fan has sung along to that song and been like, I'm just a sexy boy. Sexy boy.
I love it. I'm like, why not? I love it.
It's such a good song. And you're right. It is kind of a fun, like, build yourself up kind of feel. Yeah. The other week, I was saying that Sexy MF from Prince was a great, like, pre-funk song. Sexy Boy is also a good one to have before you go out and hit the clubs. You know, get to feeling yourself, feeling good. It's so silly and so over the top. I love it, and I like that it hits all the notes as a perfect song, especially because it fits who he is. That was his character. He was the sexy boy. Though it is funny looking back, he had like a mullet and like a unibrow, calling himself the sexy boy.
Back in the day, mullets were in on some level. Not anymore, obviously. You can't look at it in fresh eyes. You look at it back in old eyes. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, a song that I was like, nah. All I wrote was nah next to it.
Uh-oh.
The New World Order theme song. I went, nah. Yeah. That's my notes. Nah.
Yeah, I love that song. I disagree with you on this one.
You would totally love it. Of course you would. Why do you love it? Why do you love it?
So the NWO was a group that I think it changed pro wrestling. It was the group that in the early 90s, you had a lot of wrestlers who were super characters, and they would all play characters based on jobs. So you'd have the guy that is a garbage man, and you'd have the guy that is a cowboy, and you'd have the guy that is a police officer. The NWO was a group of bad guys, and their whole thing was that they were just normal people, and they were too cool to be all that. And so their music was cool because it wasn't like the heavy guitar riffs that you always hear or anything like that. It was like supposed to be kind of cool. In fact, it was supposed to sound something like Voodoo Child, which is Hulk Hogan, the leader of the group, Hollywood Hogan at the time. He used Voodoo Child, but then this was like the knockoff version. Probably because Hulk Hogan was willing to pay for the rights for him to walk out to it. But he's like, I'm not paying for everybody else, though. So we got to give them their own music. But it was supposed to have that Voodoo Child vibe to it, which I always really loved. The NWO is my favorite group in all of wrestling, so it was near and dear to me. How dare you not like it, James? I'm offended, but no, it's all good. But yeah, it was very different at the time, and so it stood out. And like I said, it was the bad guys. It was the cool bad guys song.
Jack's like, I'm done.
I'm done. Just
I'm done.
Just
I'm checking out.
Yeah.
I just didn't,
Goodbye.
I didn't like it. But Adam, yeah, he's like, bye. See you later, Jack. Thanks. Adam Wood says Sensational Sherry was the woman singing on Sexy Boy. Fun fact.
Yeah. Yep. She was Shawn Michaels' manager. And then once she was no longer the manager, they just re-recorded it.
Okay, that's so funny. Okay. A song that I'll say the song I love the most. I'll wait till the end. That's I have a song I love the most.
Interesting. I wonder if I can figure out which one it is.
I wonder if you can too. This song I played it like 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
This will be later. Okay. Let's see. Ric Flair, very dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we know the music. Of course, very familiar music.
Yes.
I thought it fit him. I mean, I know Ric Flair is. So that's one of the ones I do know also. I love that it was very dramatic. It was very dramatic, that familiar da, 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 it was like that's kind of, it made me laugh, but it was also like I totally get why, and it works for me.
What was interesting about that is, and what I love about it is because it is like it's an older song, it is dramatic, it is kind of like this big feeling song. But it also goes with Ric Flair as being one of the greats of all time in pro wrestling. And it fits that. And I don't know if it hit the same way when he was younger using it, or if it was something that, you know what I mean? Like, because it feels like this is the song that the guy who's been around forever, doing this forever as a champion with the old glittery robes and everything else, that's what he would wear. But I wonder if it hit the same when he was a young guy who wasn't the guy who's been around forever doing all this. But I think it is one of those things where it fits him so well. It is grand. And again, it's different. It's not the just heavy guitar riffs that so many like a Stone Cold have, or a repetitive beat the Rock has, but it has that long, slow buildup. It also has a boom, 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 boom.
That's why I loved it.
Yeah, and I feel like it takes some guts to be like, I'm taking that song, the big grand song, and it fits him.
It does fit him. And another song I liked that reminded me of Game of Thrones was Goldberg's first theme song. It was very tribal. I feel like I should be watching Showtime, and it should be the opening credits to Game of Thrones. And I'm like, that's what it sounded like to me. I mean, totally, it worked for me. I liked it.
Goldberg, what makes this song great too is Goldberg, when he debuted, he came out, he was an unknown. He was trained. He came up in a company called WCW. WCW is no longer in business anymore. And he had never wrestled before. He was a former football player. They took him in and they trained him in their own training facility. And when he debuted on their Monday night show, no one had heard of him. He hadn't made a name for himself in like independent companies or anything like that. No one knew who he was. He came out and he ran over this dude and beat him. And then he beat the next guy and the next guy. And he went on an undefeated streak. And when he won, he didn't just like win in great matches. He would just shellac people. Like it would like quick, like 30-second matches against guys who were like built up, who he knew who should be great. And he would literally just run them over and pin them. And so he had this just intimidating militaristic invasion style, I think it's called Invasion, song that was just intimidating and fit this guy who was built like a freight train. He would walk through his own pyro. So he didn't just have pyro, but like it would literally shoot on him and he would walk through it. And it was just one of the most intense and cool kind of moments and entrances in wrestling. In fact, I got a Goldberg, I don't know if you can see it, but Goldberg is about to hit his move on Hulk Hogan of all people.
Oh,
so
funny. Oh, yeah.
So that was a big moment when he won his world championship against Hulk Hogan because he was unbeatable. He beat everyone. He won 173 matches in a row over the course of like 2 years before losing his first match. So it was a big deal.
He was the Mike Tyson of wrestling.
Yeah, that's basically what he was.
Crazy.
Which is probably what they were thinking because Mike Tyson was big when he was when Goldberg was doing his thing. So there's probably a little bit of influence from Mike Tyson.
I remember Goldberg was out. I remember he was out. But do people talk about Goldberg today?
Yes, but not very good because he got kind of a bad rap because he comes back for WWE every now and again. Like during their big shows, they'll bring him back for like a one-off is what they call it. So like he won't be around all year. And then WrestleMania comes up and they're like, hey, Goldberg, come in for one match. And people don't like him because he's older now, but he beats the guys they like today. So like, I'll be a fan of someone. He'll come in and he'll beat them. And he's getting kind of older. He can't really do what he used to be able to do. Now I'm one of those guys, like once I'm your fan, I'm going to be your fan unless you do something terrible. Right. So I still like him. I'm like, yeah, Goldberg, do your thing. But he's the only guy that's won a world championship in 4 different decades at this point, which is crazy because he won one in the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and now the 2020s. So I like him. Everyone else hates him. Everyone gets mad at me when I say it, but I still like him. I'm still a fan.
10 points for Jack using shellac to describe Goldberg.
And that word is brought to you by thesaurus.com.
Oh my God. I love thesaurus.com actually. All the time. Okay, let's see. Oh, a guy I know, of course, from wrestling and outside wrestling, John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
His song Untitled from 2012. It was a hip hop song, which I'm not surprised by him. It was decent. It didn't. I mean, I wrote nice horns section, but it was decent.
Yeah, he is. Of course, I put him in there because he's one of the biggest stars in pro wrestling history. So I had to add him in. Does his own rhyming on there. He raps. I use that term loosely, but he raps. Loosely. We're playing fast and loose with the rules of. Yes. But you're right. The horns and the trumpets are really what builds that song. But I feel like it's got that, we call him a white meat baby face is what we call him when you're a super good guy, which is who he is and what he is. And it has that kind of like, this is the good guy here to do good guy things. It's the kind of thing like Superman would come out to a song like that, I think. And that's who he was in pro wrestling.
Okay. The Undertaker, liked his song, Rest in Peace. I like the bell ringing. I liked how it builds, and it builds and it builds. I like the song. I like it a lot.
Yeah, that's another one that definitely fits him. Of course, the Undertaker, the legend, had to include him. He's one of those guys that has a ton of different versions of his different songs over the years. But again, you hear this and you think this is a Creature of the Night song. I love the gong in the beginning. It's also something that's really iconic. Of course, the classic over the years when he used to wrestle, some ne'er-do-well would be in the middle of the ring saying, no one can stop me. I can face anybody. And then the lights go out and you hear the dong. And it's like, oh no, the Undertaker's coming. And it's like one of those cool moments to see in pro wrestling. But yeah, the slow build. He's one of those guys that needs a song that's a little bit longer than 2 minutes. He takes his time getting out to the ring, but he's also one of those guys. Half the reason you see him is to watch him walk to the ring more than anything else, because he usually's got like the big like hooded thing on, or the stuff going on with his entrances and things like that. He's more of a spectacle than anything else, at least in the past 10 years.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Batista, who I know, of course, from his acting stuff, but I do know who he is. I Walk Alone by Saliva. Love the song, of course. Very 90s, very 90s rock.
Yes.
I like it. It's very like, it's 90s. This is totally 90s. But I like it. I liked it.
Yeah, definitely added him because he's become famous outside of pro wrestling. And it's definitely like the WWE it's interesting when you listen to different songs. You can definitely tell like WWE is in a mood with different songs. Like there's different styles that you're like, yeah, this is definitely that chunk of years. And there's a number of songs that sound very much like this song that other wrestlers walk out to. But the I Walk Alone is just it's a fun little line. It's a fun little ditty. It fits him. He's a beast, as they call him in wrestling. But yeah, he's someone who obviously became famous outside of wrestling. So I thought it'd be fun if you hadn't seen him in wrestling to hear what he used to walk out to, what his music was.
I haven't seen him in wrestling, so I knew he was a wrestler, but I'd never seen him in wrestling. But I know him from the acting stuff that he's done. But I was like, oh, okay, I like him.
He had some of the best pyro in all of wrestling as far as when he walks out. So like that big, strong kind of rock song with like just like pyro going off. He always had a really good pyro setup. So those two things went really well together, and I thought made for a really good entrance.
Hi, Jill, Jimmy. I'm a big fan of your live chat videos. Well, I thank you. I appreciate that. I finally remember watching two of you do with my cousin Justin, Ingrid Krogstad. Your cousin Justin. Okay, I've interviewed some Justins. I'm assuming it's Torkelson, my buddy. Is that your cousin? I'm thinking of your last name and his last name, something Scandinavian. So thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. My family's from Holland, which is over there somewhere. So it's kind of
how very American of you. It's over there somewhere.
It's over there somewhere. I'm like, somewhere over there.
Somewhere east of Maine.
It's south of the North Pole.
Yeah, south of the North Pole.
Oh, what's going on? Something like that, I guess. But thank you. I appreciate that. So if it's Justin Torkelson, I love Justin. He's a great guy. Great actor, too. Emmy winner, of course, actually. Okay, so before I get to my last song that you gave me some other songs, I was like, I didn't care about those. But there's one song I love, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I want to, so, because I remember when in the late 80s, well, actually the mid 80s, Cyndi Lauper came out, her big album, Girls Wanna Have Fun, all that, and all the videos had Captain Albino, it had all these different wrestlers in there. I remember, and it was all considered kind of a jokey thing. It was very played up as this kind of, it's all phony and all that stuff. And then in the 90s, it just like, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 90s it got a little more serious, it seemed like. Like this is really, and I remember WrestleMania was like this huge ratings boost on Friday. Was it Friday nights? It was like everybody was watching it. I mean, I forgot what channel had it, but it was like huge ratings. It was beating everything else. And so what is it like? What is wrestling to the mainstream now, do you think? I mean, because you cover so many wrestling things. Is it more back to being an underground type of thing where we know it's out there, or is it big?
So there's a lot of pro wrestling right now. It's kind of going through what we call a boom period, where there is wrestling on every single night of the week at this point, with different companies doing different things. And they all kind of offer different things. So the main, Raw and SmackDown for WWE is what I would call more kid friendly. It's more kind of fun, a little more silly, a little more cartoonish. And now there might be some people here that's like, well, it's a variety show at the end of the day. Yes, there's different parts of it, but for the most part, it's more family oriented and family friendly. AEW tries to be more sports centric in a way, meaning they try to present it more like it's a sport as opposed to super, cartoony and crazy. Yeah. Again, it's wrestling. So there's little drifts between everything, like a variety show on all of them. But over the years, there's been a lot of other things. So like I have a picture here from a show called Lucha Underground. Unfortunately, they went out of business recently. They were a wrestling company that said, wrestling is pre-scripted, it's fake, whatever you want to call it. So let's just go all in on that aspect, and let's just treat it like, let's not try to make it seem realistic at all. They presented it as an underground temple where everyone fought for the affection of the Aztec gods in their wrestling temple. You know what I mean? And so they were like, look, we're not going to pretend it's real. We're just going to make a TV show that's fun and interesting to watch. And so there's a lot of different approaches to it right now. And there's not really one set way. I work with a company called Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and Primetime Live. They like to do it in a kind of the old school way of like from a TV studio. So like if you remember the old days when they used to have wrestling TV studios, they present it as a TV studio kind of show. And so it's a time, and as a wrestling fan, it's great because there's literally just about anything you could ever want in every different style of pro wrestling going on right now, depending on where you look.
I saw something the other day. I have DirecTV, and I watch Audience Channel. It's not Audience Channel. It's Access TV. They have a lot of music programs on there, like Rock Legends and all sorts. But I saw something on there. Did I see it correctly? It says Impact for Wrestlers.
Yep.
Impact?
Yeah. Impact Pro Wrestling is another company that's on Tuesdays, and they're a bit smaller. They're a smaller company, and they're just another option. I think they try to do a bunch of different things as well. Again, they're smaller. They're still nationwide. They're still doing good things. They're just, I say smaller because I think the WWE gets, like, to put it in perspective, I think they get like about 2 million viewers on Monday nights, or on Friday nights, I should say. For SmackDown, they get like 2 million viewers. I think Impact gets around 200,000 viewers, which is pretty good on access. I mean, it's not like it's on,
That's good.
TNT or anything, but lots of wrestlers go there kind of if they're not in WWE or if they're coming up or things like that. So, yeah, it's another option that's out there.
Nobody's covering it? Anybody covering it? Or?
Yeah, some people do. I'm sure there's people covering everything. That's just how it is these days. Everyone's got a podcast. I actually I think they do a lot of cool things there. I just don't have the time to cover everything.
Adam says MMA and pro wrestling are now alike than people realize, including the people involved in both endeavors. Such endeavors. Yes, I know MMA. I used to follow MMA. That was what I used to follow a lot more and watch Ultimate Fighter and all that, and get every season of that and all that stuff. So it's like, I guess now they're combining. Some people are doing both, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of the MMA fighters are going to pro wrestling after their MMA career is done, and a few wrestlers have gone into MMA. Brock Lesnar obviously was a wrestler first, and then went into MMA. CM Punk tried to go to MMA for a little bit. Yes. Wasn't super successful. Well, I mean, he didn't win, but I mean, come on, he got 2 pay-per-view paychecks from UFC. Good on him. So, but Ronda Rousey was a MMA fighter that then went into WWE, and they do go back and forth. I have a feeling Conor McGregor will find himself in a pro wrestling ring at some point in his life, because I think he'd be great at it. He's good at talking smack, and he's a believable fighter. So, I mean, I say believable. I mean, he can actually fight. I'm just saying, like, if you see him in the pro wrestling ring, you go, yeah, I'm sure he can beat people up, is all I'm saying. Obviously, he really can.
Oh, yeah, he could beat your ass. He could beat my ass, too.
Sure, like, yeah. Absolutely, he could.
Totally. So the one song I liked the most, and I was like, okay, I mean, I hear you. Recognition by Charlotte Flair.
Really? I love it.
I love that song. It's dance techno. It's I mean, it's just like I was like, now it's in my rotation. Now I played it like 5 times. I was like, I like this song. For whatever reason, out of all the songs, that one spoke to me.
I really like that song, and for a couple of reasons. One, I think Charlotte Flair personally is the best female wrestler on the planet of all time. So I'm a big fan of hers. I like the sound of it. I think that's a great song as well. So I'm with you there, James. But what I really love about it, and what I think is really cool, is how they incorporated Ric Flair's music, her dad's music, and remade it, but it still feels like her own. You know what I mean? Like, they're definitely paying homage to Ric Flair with that song, but it's still her song. It doesn't feel like she just took his song. It's definitely hers. It has all of hers. It feels like hers, but it's just a little tip of the cap to him. You know what I mean?
You need a tip of the hat. You like doing that.
That's my
hat to you, Sarah. Good day to you, Sarah.
Good day. I've never done that in real life, though. I've never actually tipped my cap.
Get a hat on. Tip it next time. See what happens. I never have either, so I wouldn't even know what that is. But no, I like the song. So Charlotte Flair, is she on Twitter? I'm gonna have Tasha tag her in it, and then it's my favorite song. It's hers. She said they.
You should. Yeah, she is on Twitter. In fact, our mutual friend Flobo interviewed her once and got to chat with her a little bit. So, and she seemed like a delight.
She was lovely.
She seemed like she seemed like a very nice person. They talked about just following your dreams, being yourself, and if you want to try something, do it. Don't try to be what people think you're supposed to be.
I'll have to watch that interview. I usually see a stuff. I think I've seen that one, but now I know who she is. I know who she was before, so now I know who she is. I'll have to kind of see it. I'll let her know that you're my favorite song right now of wrestling songs out there. But Recognition is my song, folks. Check it out. I like it.
Yeah.
For me. And those are our wrestling songs, folks. There were plenty more that I was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
These are the ones that I was like, that either made me really like them or not really like them at all. Made an impact for me. But there's more wrestling songs I didn't even know existed. There's a YouTube wrestling song channel I saw, whatever. Like, you can go for wrestling songs. Very interesting. There's a whole world I know nothing about.
Yeah, there's a ton of them you can go through, and like I said, it's so that's why it's so weird when it's like, send me some songs. Like, well, man, I could send you 500 songs, or I could send you 3 songs, or I don't know. And so I tried to give a kind of a list that expanded, one, people who are like known, but also some that sounded a little different or sounded, like I said, there's nothing wrong with a nice guitar riff, but I don't want it to be generic, Like I said, the reason I put in like a Stone Cold, he's just basically a guitar riff, but he's Stone Cold, so you got to throw him in there. Same with The Rock. So I kind of agree with your statements on those two, but I wanted to send some over that were kind of fun, that were different. They didn't sound like everything else. They had their own vibe to them.
Yes, I agree. And I'm sorry with the New World Order song. Sorry, this is where we opposites. I'll listen again and see if it brings anything to me. But so far, I'm like,
I think it's one of those songs you had to be a fan of them to get it. To be fair,
yeah, that's true. Actually, that's true. Context. Sometimes
I guess
that happens.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you never had heard of basketball and you heard of the Bulls theme, that Sirius song, it might not click for you if you don't like get that. Oh no, this is Jordan's song. But now when you know that, you're like, oh, this song is sick.
Yeah,
I can't imagine you ever saying a song is sick, but whatever.
You know me, James Lott Jr., I would never say that. That's not a word I would use, but I understand what you mean. I totally what you mean. I don't think I've ever used that sick.
No.
That's ill. No, you'd be ill.
Yeah. I want to hear you say that next time we're doing a show. This song, Jack, is really sick.
It's really sick. It's like, it's totally, just go to the hospital. It's so good. Yes, thank you. Yeah. Well, this was fun. This is actually, we had no idea how the show was going to turn out, and it was great. I got some history. I'm going to share this with all my wrestling friends, because I can say James Fine talked wrestling in his own way, by way of Jack Farmer.
Yes. Yeah. And we'll get to see which ones they say are, which one your wrestling friends agree with me as far as which songs are good and which songs are not. And which one's like, no, Jack should have said Stone Cold's music was the best. It was fine.
Or folks out there.
It's the glass breaking. You take the glass breaking out, it's not nearly as good.
There you go, the glass breaking. Well, I would say, people, if you have wrestling songs you want me to hear, send them to me. Tag me in them. I'll listen to them. I mean, I like music, so I'll listen to music. If you think of a song, go, oh, he forgot about this. Or maybe he did tell me this one, I just didn't pick it. So reshare with me if you have an idea of what, songs you think I should hear out there. I'll totally. And Kirsten, check it out, Kirsten. Check it all out. We like music. I love music, so that's why I do the show. I love music. Next week, we're talking rap.
Rap.
Very broad term. Rap.
Yes.
That's be broad. All kinds of raps. Not the sandwich kind. No, we're talking rap.
Oh, not the sandwich kind. Oh.
No raps.
We're talking about like Christmas presents? What are we talking about?
No Christmas raps. Well, there's some Christmas raps.
Right.
No Christmas raps. No, we're not wrapping we're not wrapping paper. We're not ordering sandwiches. It's just completely about the art of speaking to a beat.
Oh. So when we say rap, we're not talking about like when you finish recording something and it's a rap.
It's a rap, bitches.
No.
Not that either. It's a rap.
We're not talking about old time knocking on someone's door, rapping on the door. We're not talking.
That's a good one. Oh my God, that's a good one. Or I just always say, I'm going to rap to her. We're going to rap to some chick. It's like you're going to talk to that.
Right. We're not talking about that either, huh? Oh, I'm gonna have to do my research.
Yes, on that one. We're talking the art of that, which I believe is the last original music art form, which is rap. And it's one of the few that's just, I think it's the last. We can discuss it. I think it's one of the last original art forms. That's
interesting.
Everything else is born out of something else.
Right.
Grunge out there was born out of something else. Rap is literally talking to a beat.
Right. Interesting. I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to think about, I feel like EDM, I'm trying to figure out where that, but you're right, that there's
The through line,
There's
techno, dance, disco. It goes. There's a line for that.
right,
Rock is all certain types of rock, but they're all rock.
right. You're
R&B,
right.
country. It's all there's a through line. I feel like rap's the last one that's truly a new way to do music.
Yeah, so that'll be a fun one. I think I would love for anyone who listens to this or hears us talking about it now, let us know who they think their favorite rappers are, and maybe we can talk about that.
Yeah, well, please do. Please do. Everyone, tell everyone. Jack, tell everyone. Not everyone tell Jack where he can find you. You tell them where they can find you.
Oh, you can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. As mentioned, we talk about wrestling a lot. You can check me on AEW Elite of the Week every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, as well as Draped in Gold every Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we talk about AEW, NXT, all that good wrestling stuff. That's the best place to find me chatting about wrestling. You can also buy a shirt at realjackfarmer.threadless.com.
Buy a shirt. Thank you. Where can you find me? Where all James Lott Jr.'s are sold at James Lott Jr. on all social media platforms, including TikTok. My latest TikTok is about egg size. Let's go there and see what we're talking about. And speaking of rap battles, you can see me, Flobo Boyce, and our friend Phil Svitek do a rap battle on TikTok.
Well, you're now my favorite rapper, James.
I was the one who added drum machine to my bits.
Interesting. I gotta hear that. I gotta hear this.
They're all. You'll see them. All videos.
I gotta hear this. Everyone, make sure to check that out. I want to hear James rap battle Flobo and Phil. I've never met Phil. I never chatted to him. I think we were two, ships that passed in the night at AfterBuzz. We missed each other.
He's great. We love Phil. We love Phil Svitek. Get out.
Yeah.
But yeah, check it out on TikTok. It's on TikTok. So it's like there's like 2 or 3 videos, and people are watching them for some weird reason. They're watching them. Not the greatest, but yes. But follow us there, and JLJ Media is a company. So go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment to this channel. We are growing by leaps and bounds. We have all kinds of programming, so please check it out. And make sure you go to his channel too and check him out and what's going on with you and see what he's doing over there. So we're both growing and becoming monoliths.
Yes, or at least something. I don't know. Something's
a blob. I don't know.
At least a sundial.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what a smaller monolith would be.
I don't know either. But I will take that. We'll go with that. Everybody, please have a good week, and we will see you next week.